About Money, we're still describing the December mentality. Spend, save, be prudent. I've got the best brains in the business, John Manyike from Old Mutual, and Warren Ingram still with me in studio. John, you're going to give us the pointers and the tips. The ideal December mentality when it comes to money versus jolly.
Okay, great stuff. Look, the first thing that one needs to do is to set the limit. If you're going into a festive period, you need to set the limit. How much do you have? Because you cannot spend money you don't have. You can't borrow money in order to spend. And that's a recipe for disaster. So set the limits. And secondly, you need to have a shopping list. Don't go shopping without a shopping list. Otherwise, you'll end up buying stuff that you actually don't need, that you didn't plan for. But also, you need to shop around. So there's nothing wrong with collecting pamphlets from different retail stores and compare prices. For those who are internet savvy, you could also go online. And then the fourth one is that, cash is king. Learn to negotiate. In some instances, you might be able to negotiate certain items so that you actually get the best price for it. In some instances, you can ask the store if they don't have cosmetically damaged items. If you really, really need it and it cannot fit into your budget, it's more difficult for retail stores to dispose of those kind of items. But if you ask for it and they have it, you might actually be able to do it. And then the fifth one is you need to use your own money. Don't use money that doesn't belong to you. So very often we get tempted to use credit cards to buy items that are on sale. But here's the problem. If you buy an item that's on sale in your credit card, it simply means that you're actually eroding the saving you would have gained there.
If you're not saving.
Absolutely. If you're not going to pay off that credit card within the time limit before the interest kicks in.
Warren, John sounds perfectly reasonable, right? But talk to me about the mentality. And I was theatrical in being the guy who wants to spend it all. But, what's the mindset? Is it a cultural thing? Is it an environmental thing that we're keeping up with the Joneses or the Kumalos? Why do we want to floss?
I don't think it's a cultural thing specifically. I think that's it's an easy way out. It gives yourself the big excuse, it's my culture, I've got to do that. That's rubbish. I mean, I think if we look at not just South Africa, right around the world, this problem that we're talking about now is universal. The moment we've got easy access to credit, this problem applies to any culture, anywhere, and that's really an issue about prioritizing. I think partly, there are some countries and cultures where saving is actually a good thing to do. So, if you look at the Far East, for example, people just naturally save. It's part and parcel of their culture. But it's quite a small part of the world. The rest of the world likes to spend. So I think you can't give yourself that easy exit and just say, well...
So it's now personal. What are the personal attributes?
Exactly. You've got to look internally and say, what is it? How do I self-validate? And how do I say, how do I judge myself? Because if you're judging yourself by the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the parties you're going to, or the parties that you're hosting, and you think that means you've arrived, you've got some bigger problems. And you need to figure out what's important in life and also how you get ahead. And what we've just spoken about now is just not getting ahead. And I think it's amazing. You're talking about these pamphlets. I mean, I see these pamphlets, one yesterday, from a bottle store selling whiskey for 699,000 Rand.
The King George bottle, Johnny Blue, for me. Under the tree, I'd love you forever, my man.
I don't think there's a taste difference between the 699,000 and the 100-buck one, really. And especially when you add, Coke. It just sorts it all out.
No, but at the braai, when I bring out the gift box and I show the oaks, sorry, back to being conservative, Kura. Talk to me about the financial family budgeting cycle, right? I would think there's huge value. Instead of doing it from this 1st of December, my new financial goals are to provide for my family. What if I did that end of November before the bonus hit my bank account? What difference would that make? So I'm budgeting from a surplus rather than in saying, I got paid on the 16th of December, my next receipts are the 31st of January, I'm stuck.
Yeah, I think the earlier the better. I mean, if you have a good plan in terms of, like in any situation, you need to have a game plan. If your game plan is that I'm going to plan early in November how I'm going to go around, navigate through December, I think it's the right way to do it. But I actually, if you may allow me, I want to go back to a point he made earlier on about the mentality. And so in a South African context, there's another dimension of generational poverty. If you grew from a grew up from a family that was really suffering, or maybe was relatively poor, I'm saying this with the greatest of respect, is that when you start working, you almost feel like you have an obligation to prove or to square up with poverty, to say, look, I grew up not having food. Now, December, what happens? I go and stock up 24 bottles of ketchups. I don't want to mention the name of a brand. But the thing is that if you've got 24 bottles of a ketchup, how is that going to alleviate poverty? Sure. It won't alleviate poverty. In fact, it just invites the rats to come and have a party. So which means the problem with poverty, it makes people do things in a strange way, because you want to get a surplus of it, something you never had as you grew up.
And to me, if you can turn that into a positive, if you can use that motivation of saying, I've come from absolutely nothing, I've come from incredible hardship, and I never want to go back. I never, ever want to take myself or my family back to that situation. And so you use that motivation as a way to prioritize. Then I think this peacock syndrome that we're talking about, you can actually turn it on its head. You can take the most devastating thing that could happen to a family and make it an incredible motivator to move forward. And I know it's easy to say, but that's what you've got to do. It is an internal issue. You can't worry about what's going on in the world around you.
I've got 30 seconds to go, John. I'm going to try and be financially responsible. I want to have some financial goals as part of my New Year's resolutions. Give me 2.
I think you need to have a vision. What do you want to achieve in your life financially? Is it you want to pay off your house?
Second one?
Second one is you need to have a budget, and you need to stick to it. If you can't stick to it, just like a leopard, you would not be able to get anywhere with your vision.
That's it for this episode. Great advice from our panelists. Please join us again next time, next year. Goodbye.
I'm a businessman. Are you an entrepreneur struggling to get access to finance or funding? We're bringing you an exciting show that's going to be focusing on funding of businesses.
Do you want to apply for business funding, or you have recently applied for funding and failed and you have no idea why? Join our panel of experts and they will unpack your application with you step by step. In order participate at our Johannesburg studios, send us an email to smefunding@bdtv.co.za or tweet us at funding_SME. SME funding will be on your screens in February of 2016. Make sure you don't miss out by applying right now to participate and have your questions answered. This week on New Retirement Thinking, for strategies to improve your retirement annuity, join Kura Chihota and retirement specialist Dave Crawford on New Retirement Thinking, exclusive to Business Day TV.
New Retirement Thinking is proudly brought to you by 10X. Why settle for less?
The Sanlam Portrait Awards, in partnership with the Roost and Vrede Gallery in Durban, was created in 2012. The artists are tasked with creating portraits from subjects they encounter and are able to interact with.
We began, the first award was made